Hello again to another Agricolor Reacts, and today we will be watching Defending Europe Without the US. Is it possible? And the last week, on Saturday, we watched European Army. How would it actually work? And if you wanna watch that, you can go back to it, and links are below. And basically, I'm gonna give the link to the thing somewhere in here. And let's just watch the Defending Europe Without the US. Is it possible? Because it's a question a lot of people are asking now, isn't it? Including myself, so let's just go.
This video was sponsored by MyHeritage. Russia has been ramping up its military for 3 consecutive years, building a powerful army with proven combat experience. Meanwhile, Europe has faced decades of military decline. Although defense spending is on the rise, the only European force with real battlefield experience is Ukraine. Europe's main strategic advantage, though? US deterrence. With 100,000 American troops stationed across the continent and a nuclear umbrella, this presence has long been a formidable counter to Russian aggression. But could this be changing?
We're also here today to directly and unambiguously express that stark strategic realities prevent the United States of America from being primarily focused on the security of Europe.
And that's putting it mildly. Trump has repeatedly flirted with the idea of pulling US troops out of Europe, especially from Germany, and even hinted at leaving NATO during his previous presidency. Meanwhile, the likely new German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, vows independence from Trump's America, warning that NATO may soon be dead. Therefore, in this video we'll explore the reality of the Russian threat today, the current state of US military presence in Europe, and what Europe would need to defend it.
I'm kind of like thinking now that, everyone focusing on Europe and the fact how Europe went, because obviously we are neighbors to Russia and all that, and most of the countries in Europe are actually, let me just rephrase that, in the European Union are the part of NATO as well. But if the NATO, will cease to exist, I think there's one country that would be more worried than that. Because honestly, especially if they cease to exist because of America, Canada would be kind of out there on its own. Obviously, a lot of countries in probably like UK and European countries will have, but it just will be just on the doorstep. But it's not that far from Russia as well, over the Antarctic, isn't it? And stuff like that. Oh no, I'm not a strategist or nothing like that, but this is just what came to my mind now.
If America pulled out for good. For Russia, the war in Ukraine has been costly, but the Kremlin continues to go all in.
Yes, continues to go in because there's something in their heads that they just want to do, and they just want to... I don't know. Obviously, I'm absolutely 100% biased. I don't want Russia to go through Ukraine and keep going to Europe, because the next country is gonna be Poland and Estonia and Latvia and Lithuania, and probably Finland. And I'm, as a Polish person who have family in Poland, this is kind of worrying, you know. So obviously, it's just something that I don't want to see Ukraine to just fold out and just give up to Russia, because it's just not fair. They are an independent country, they work hard on being independent and stuff like that. They give up all the nuclear weapons after the USSR, and here you go. Here we are. They're supposed to not be threatened, not to be being... Yes, I'm just losing what I'm trying to say. The whole validity of me just basically rambling here now. It's based on the fact that I'm Polish. And the fact that I do know some of the Polish history and how Poland was treated after the Second War and during the war and before the war and after the First War, things like that. So, yes. And the fact that everyone says Putin doesn't want go back to the USSR borders. He wants to go back to the Russia's empire border, what was in 19th century, and that's when Poland didn't exist. So that's what I'm worrying mostly about. So.
Dollars and mobilizing everything from military factories to social media disinformation. The result? A military that's bigger, meaner, and more battle-hardened than the one that stormed into Ukraine in 2022. By the end of last year, Russia had 700,000 troops in Ukraine, far more than 2022. And in just 1 year, Russia produced 1,500 battle tanks, a 220% increase compared to 2022. They also cranked out 5,700 armored vehicles, a 50% boost, and 1,800 long-range loitering munitions, a staggering 435% jump. Oh, and those drones they used to borrow from Iran? Not anymore. Russia is now producing its own. And then there's military spending, where Russia is, quite frankly, off the charts. The International Institute for Strategic Studies estimated Russia's military budget last year at $145 billion, or 6.7% of its GDP. That's over 40% more than the year before. Meanwhile, Europe's combined defense spending in 2024 was $457 billion. Impressive. Until you dig a little deeper. If you calculate Russia's spending in purchasing power parity, adjusting for the fact that things are a lot cheaper in Russia, the Kremlin's military budget jumps to a staggering $460 billion. And for the first time in a very long time, Russia is outspending all of Europe. Insane, right? And what makes this even scarier? Russia operates under a single command and speaks one language. Us Europeans, a very different story. NATO and several European countries believe Russia could be ready to attack a NATO country within 3 to 10 years, or even sooner. There's even a massive military exercise in Belarus this summer, simulating conflict with NATO, and that will showcase Russia's combat readiness. And if they can pull this off during an ongoing war, Europe should pay attention. But as said before, Europe has one big deterrence: NATO and the USA. But before we look into that, have you ever wondered about your family's past? That's where today's sponsor, MyHeritage, comes in. A true game changer in discovering your roots. When I first tried it, all I did was enter basic information about my parents and grandparents. And boom, my family tree started unfolding before my eyes. I uncovered my great-grandparents and traced generations I never knew existed. All easily done with MyHeritage's intuitive platform and its 20 billion historical records. What's more, I uncovered some fascinating family connections. For instance, I found ancestors with roots in Turkey and Indonesia. Turns out the Dutch colonial history in Indonesia wasn't just something I learned in school. It's part of my very own story. And here's the best part. I added my first cousin twice removed to my family tree, and he reached out to me. And now we're collaborating on our own combined family tree. MyHeritage also has incredible features to bring your family history to life. I found this very old family photo of my great uncle, and their tools let me repair, colorize, enhance, and even animate it. It's like stepping back in time.
That's kind of creepy.
And here's the
Okay.
exciting part. You can try it all out with a 14-day free trial. So, drive into your family's past today and uncover stories you never knew existed. Check out the link in the description below. Back to the video, where we're breaking down just how big America's deterrence in Europe really is. First, there's US support for Ukraine. Since February 2022, the US has provided 114 billion euros in financial, military, and humanitarian aid, an average of 38 billion euros per year. Crucially, this includes advanced American weapon systems and the powerful message that the US stands firmly with Ukraine. The US also has around 100,000 troops stationed across Europe. Most of them are in Germany, with smaller but significant numbers in Italy, the UK, Poland, and Spain. The idea is very simple. If Russia were to attack a NATO country, those 100,000 troops would be reinforced fast by up to 200,000 more, mainly US armored units tailor-made for the Eastern European battlefield. That's a pretty solid force, but it doesn't stop there. The real ace up Europe's sleeve? US nuclear bombs as deterrence. During the Cold War, the US had over 7,000 nuclear warheads stored all across Europe. Today, that number is much lower, but still significant. Although exact numbers are classified, experts estimate about 100 US nuclear bombs are currently stored at 6 sites, 2 in Italy and 1 each in Turkey, the Netherlands, Belgium, and Germany. That's serious deterrent. So, that is the status quo. But with a new
That's
Trump
one thing, but then there's as well France have their own nukes and UK, isn't it?
Place, things could change.
Now is the time to invest, because you can't make an assumption that America's presence will last forever.
Germany's entire defense is subsidized by the American taxpayer. There are thousands upon thousands of American troops in Germany today. Do you think that the American tax...
Can I, one second, I just have to go back what he just said that what? What did he say there about
that
the
America's
Germany's
presence will
defense?
last forever.
Germany's entire defense is subsidized by the American taxpayer. There are thousands upon thousands of American troops in Germany today. Do you think that the American taxpayer is going to stand for that if you get thrown in jail in Germany for posting a mean tweet? Of course.
Okay, let's just keep going, because I'm just gonna get into rant about that, because...
They're not.
The new administration definitely isn't known for its strong Atlanticist views. In fact, they've made it pretty clear that America's days as Europe's security blanket might be numbered. So, while still
But how
unlikely,
true they're sending
what
those,
happens if
what
the
they
US
just said
pulls
is...
out entirely, leaving Europe to defend itself? Could
Okay.
Europe step up and fill the gap? First, let's take a look at Ukraine. And here, there are two scenarios. In the first scenario, there's no peace deal, and Ukraine keeps on fighting. From a purely financial perspective, Europe could replace US support without too much trouble. To match US aid to Ukraine, the EU would only need to spend an additional 0.22% of its GDP. That's not a huge ask. The second scenario is trickier. Ukraine accepts a US-Russia peace deal, and Europe needs to secure the border with peacekeepers, an estimated 150,000 troops, likely without US help. Meanwhile, Russia would likely continue its military buildup, posing a serious threat to all of Europe. And this points to the real problem: replacing American troops in Europe if they leave. To match the fighting power of 300,000 US troops, Europe would need to significantly boost its military strength, focusing on mechanized and armored forces. On paper, Europe, including the UK, has 1.5 million active duty military personnel. Sounds super impressive, right? But they're scattered across 28 national armies, each with its own chain of command. The combat power of 300,000 US troops is far greater than the same number of European troops divided among different national forces. US troops operate as large cohesive corps with unified command structures and unmatched strategic enablers, like strategic aviation and space assets, things that Europe simply doesn't have. For example, to prevent a rapid Russian breakthrough in the Baltics, NATO would need at least 1,400 tanks, 2,000 infantry fighting vehicles, and 700 artillery pieces. That's more than the combined land forces of France, Germany, Italy, and the UK. The bottom line, it's not just about replacing numbers. It's about matching firepower, unity, and strategic reach. And right now, Europe is nowhere near ready. And then there's the big one: nuclear deterrence. If the US were to dismantle its 6 nuclear bases in Europe, it would leave a massive gap in Europe's defense. But Europe isn't entirely defenseless.
Yes, exactly.
France and the UK have their own nuclear arsenals, though nowhere near as many warheads as the US.
Yeah,
or
but you
Russia
don't
for
really
that
need
matter.
that many of them,
However,
isn't it? Like, if you think about it, it's a nuclear deterrent. It's called deterrent for a reason. It's not because someone actually really wants to use them. It's the fact that you just have it. So it's not like Europe can't do it. Like, obviously, you just need few of them and just have that in your options. That's all. I think that's how I see it anyway.
things are shifting. French President Macron and Germany's likely next Chancellor Friedrich Merz are already discussing the possibility of sharing nuclear capabilities. This could even mean storing French nukes on German soil, aiming to create a European nuclear shield, independent of the US. But building a credible nuclear deterrent takes time. And in the short term, Europe simply can't replace the security provided by the US nuclear presence. So, the bottom line is clear. Europe cannot replace the US presence in the short term. But in the long run, that's a different story. With the right investments and strategic planning, Europe could achieve full military independence. And that brings us to a crucial crossroads. Europe must make a choice.
And I think they're actually working on it now, in my opinion, because you can't really, like, they're not silly, those people there on the top of the European Union, and they do kind of see what might happen. So a lot of armies, like Germany is investing in their own armies, Poland is investing a lot of money into our army, France probably does. Didn't hear much about it, but obviously they do. UK, maybe it's not the part of European Union, but it's part of Europe, so if something, they would not like the repeat of what was happening during the Second War. Yeah, so we'll see what's gonna happen, but I think like basically, like in last week we learned that basically European Union doesn't have their own army because mostly it was because there was a resounding no from America. America didn't want that, so I'm kind of like saying, why would you do it? We're gonna be there to... Millie, what's going on? Is that your new hiding spot, is it? Millie just found herself a new hiding spot in one of the boxes there. Okay. Just trying to emerge from it. Seems to have a bit of a trouble because she got out from the other side. Can you do it, Millie? You can do it! And she did it, but she got caught in the... Oh, Millie. Oh, Millie! Okay, well, I'll have to help her there. She did it on her own! Yay! Oh, where are my headphones? Okay, so we've got national armies, obviously, yeah. So I'm just gonna go back a little bit here and the volume, and obviously this is important as well. And there you go.
To a crucial crossroads. Europe must make a choice. Option 1. Build up national armies and rapidly enhance military coordination throughout Europe. Without better coordination, defense costs will skyrocket, and European national efforts won't be enough to deter the Russian military. Or option 2. Create a unified European army, an additional force of at least 200,000 soldiers supplied by national armies to replace US presence in Europe.
We must build the armed forces of Europe so that Europe's future depends only on Europeans, and decisions about Europe are made in Europe.
Whichever
It is not wrong.
chooses, one thing is certain. It will require a lot of money.
Yeah.
Defense spending will need to rise significantly from the current 2% of GDP. Initial estimates suggest an increase of about 250 billion euros annually, raising the total to around 3.5% of GDP. And to make this affordable and economical, European scale procurement is essential to lower military production costs. German leadership will also be critical. Alone, they would need to increase its defense budget from 80 billion euros to 140 billion euros, about 3.5% of its GDP, on top of joint EU funding. Right now, German military capabilities fall short of NATO commitments. For example, Germany's pledge to provide NATO with 2 divisions, around 40,000 troops.
No, but I think... Now, I might be wrong in that, but obviously it's kind of like... Isn't it that what happened during the Second War and who caused the Second War? It's the reason why Germany's military is as it is now. Because basically during the Cold War and stuff, they didn't like... First of all, actually, during the Cold War, Germany was split into 2 different countries. So that's one. And then there was the fact that they just didn't want Germany to have too strong of a military power, because they were kind of afraid it was gonna be a repeat of what happened before Second War, because after the First War, the Germany shouldn't have a military power as well. So I might be wrong on that, obviously, but this is what I remember from my history lessons.
2027 is already facing serious setbacks. Here's my take. If Europe wants real deterrence and a seat at the table with the big boys, it has to act as one. Looking at the options, both have potential, but the second one offers far more advantages.
Yeah.
By building a unified European army, mass procurement becomes easier and cheaper when Europe buys as one. Standardization also gets a massive boost. Instead of juggling 17 different types of tanks across national armies, a unified force could streamline to just one. A unified command under a single structure as a separate pillar within NATO would be far more effective than fragmented national variants. But getting to option 2 would require massive political will and a complete overhaul of the EU's defense structure. This won't happen overnight. Of course, there are many more problems. And if you want to know more about how this could play out, check out our previous video, linked here, where we go into the topic a lot deeper. And don't miss out the chance to explore your family roots. Sign up for a 14-day free trial of MyHeritage today. And to support us further, consider joining us on Patreon. Every contribution helps us bring you more in-depth discussions on Europe's future. Thank you to our presidents, Jan, Sjoukje, Kristin, Peter, HVD, BJ, and Unite Europe. See you in the next video.
Yeah, I think they're very right about this. And it's something that it should be happening. There should be serious talks about it now with, you know, who on the presidential seat in America. And I think that this is just should be kind of like either considered and start building towards it, just in case in the future there would be another person who would be like that. Yeah. So, yeah. So thank you very much for watching, and I see you tomorrow. Bye!